Drawing challenges are a great way to run small experiments to discover different aspects of your creativity. And this is especially true if you make the drawing challenges personal. The more personal you make the drawing challenge, the more likely you are to discover different aspects of your creativity. In my Inner Artist course, I tell students all the time that they should look at their expectations through the lens of a friend, because friends tend to be more forgiving. They tend to be more loving. They tend to not judge you as harshly as you judge yourself. So just look at your art practice through the lens of a friend. And that got me thinking, what if I approached all of my life for 30 days as if I was a friend of my own? What if my best friend came into my body and now was in control of what I was doing? How would I approach my life differently, and how would I approach my creativity differently? And I think it's very important to also include the life aspect. I do think that your creativity, the way you approach your art, is deeply tied to how you approach life. So you want to ask those two questions. So I created this free worksheet that you can grab below, absolutely free, that I used to ask myself these questions and grapple with them for a second to figure out what changes I want to make. So if you want to try this challenge out, maybe try it for 7 days. You don't have to do the full 30 days. Try the worksheet first, write it out, because you might be surprised by what you write down. I was kind of surprised by the things that I want to make adjustments to. So here are 5 things that I will be changing that I think are very healthy, things that I believe will improve my art practice and make me feel much better about how I live my life. Here are those 5 things. The first adjustment that I want to make is that I want to put the approval of my intuition above everything else. I want to make sure that my creative voice is the highest priority every time I draw. There's a tendency to create a mental model of the external world. There's a tendency to create a mental model, a framework of what other people approve of. You might start drawing and you might think, would other people like this? Will this get a lot of likes on social media? Will my friend who looks at my drawings, will they approve of it? And this mental model gets so deeply imbued in our mind that it happens automatically. And one thing that I've noticed is that sometimes I prioritize that voice above my own creativity. There's a deeper intuition within my mind that will pipe up when I do a drawing that it likes. It will give me good feelings. A drawing will feel true. Like the texture of the drawing, it feels true when it's aligned with my intuition. When I'm focused on this external framework, I'm stressed about it. I'm clenching. I'm trying to force it to become something beautiful in hopes of getting this external validation, and it doesn't feel good. And this is something that's been happening to me throughout my 12 years as an artist, and I really want to lean into just following my intuition and giving up any sense of desire to get approval from the external world. The approval from that intuition is going to be my highest priority. And obviously there's still some desire to get that external validation that's always going to be there, but I always want to make sure that the intuition, that good feeling, the feeling that a drawing is true, like in its essence is true, that is going to be my highest priority, and everything else can come after that. And I do think that this is one thing that I really want to focus in on for the next 30 days, because I do think that I'll be able to make drawings that I like so much more if I'm able to lean into that. I recently started working on a drawing that I'll put up here that you can look at for a second. This is one of my favorite drawings that I've done ever. And the reason why I like this drawing so much is because I kept sketching and kept exploring ideas until something came onto the page that felt true. Like it feels so much truer to me than many other drawings that I've done when I keep thinking about how I can get approval from the external world. So this is the first adjustment that I'll be making over the next 30 days. The second adjustment that I want to make is to give myself more room to rest and be bored. One tendency that I've found within myself is that anytime I have a productive day where I do a lot of work, I try to replicate that day every single day. I try to push for more and more productivity. And what I'm realizing is that that's not how I would treat my friends. If my friends had an especially productive day, I wouldn't tell them like, you should try to do that every single day. What I would tell them is, that happens once in a while, but be forgiving of yourself. Give yourself plenty of rest. The reason why you were able to be that productive in that one day is just things happen to align. You cannot put the expectation that you'll be able to do that every single day, because I do think that that is detrimental to your mental well-being. So I would tell them, hey, make sure you schedule rest. If you are having a hard day, just be forgiving and just let yourself rest. You don't have to force yourself to draw every single day. You can draw when it feels right, and just give yourself that room to relax, because it's about enjoying your life. There's no point in just constantly pushing and forcing yourself to be productive every hour of the day. That is not how life works. And the bigger issue is that A lot of things that we consider productive are things that we can actually measure, and creativity isn't something you can actually measure. Yes, you can measure the amount of minutes that you spend drawing. Yes, you can measure the output of drawings, its number of drawings, but that doesn't get to the core of it. It misses the point. Creativity just can't be measured. Therefore, you might as well learn how to treat yourself better, and then just trust that your creativity will flow naturally and stop trying to force it so much. So that's the second adjustment I'll be making. The third thing that I want to change is that I want to stop judging myself so harshly for not being as good of an artist that I thought I would be at my age. The age component is something that I use a lot to judge my own art. A lot of times I'll look at my drawings and I'll think, honestly, there are 20-year-olds right now who draw way better than this. Their portraits are way better. The way they approach things it's so much better. And I tend to use that as almost like a hammer to like beat myself, like, oh, you should be better, you should be better, you should be better. And all that does is distract me away from the beauty that's available right here and right now. The more I judge my art, the less I'm actually in touch with the art and the less creative I end up being. There's almost no upside to focusing on this aspect of things. This judgment isn't helpful, and I want to let go of this. Now, this isn't something that's going to be very easy to do. I do think that this might be one of the most challenging aspects of this 30-day challenge, is just trying to let go of some of those judgments. But even if those judgments exist, I just want to listen to them less. Obviously, those judgments might not go away within 30 days, but I do know that if I pay less attention to it and focus a little bit more on being present with the process, then my drawings will be better, I'll feel better in my body, everything will just be better. There's almost no good things that come out of this type of judgment. There have been many times in my life where I've tried to use that shame and that negative energy to try to push myself to improve. And it works for 2 weeks maybe, or a week, or a couple of days, but it is not sustainable. Running on negative fuel just doesn't work when it comes to creativity. There's certain things that maybe works for, running on negative fuel maybe works when you go to the gym. But when it comes to being creative, I genuinely don't think that it's sustainable. And I genuinely don't think it doesn't get the results that you really want, because creativity is much more fluid. It isn't predictable in the way that you could hammer it down. It is very free. And the only way it can be free is if you allow it to be free, and the judgment will prevent you from experiencing your art practice that way. And that is something that I've been struggling with for many, many years. So much of what I've been focused on for the past 12 years has been judging myself negatively in a way that isn't useful. So for the next 30 days, let's try giving some of that up. I predict that I will make progress, but I do not expect myself to suddenly be a different person. I know that only so much change can happen in 30 days. A drawing challenge, a 30-day challenge, isn't about turning your life around within 30 days. The idea is to experiment, figure out where you can push, and be a little bit more intentional with the way you approach things. So I'm going to try to let go of some of those judgments. And this is one of those answers where I had to do the worksheet. I had to write it out to figure it out. I was kind of surprised that this is something that I'm still struggling with. But as soon as I started answering the questions on the worksheets, it just came out naturally. So I definitely recommend that you actually try the worksheet. Even if you don't want to do the challenge for 30 days or whatever, just answer those questions and sit with them honestly for 5 minutes. I do think that they can change things quite tremendously. The fourth thing that I want to change is I want to be more proud of the drawings that I make, even if they could be better. I have a tendency to focus on how the drawings could just be better. I'll look at a drawing and be like, oh, this could be so much better if I was better at this, if I practiced this. I should come up with the schedule and practice all this stuff so that I could finally do a drawing that I enjoy. And honestly, that way of thinking just hasn't been helpful. So over the next 30 days, I just want to be proud of the work, celebrate where things are going right. So instead of just focusing on things that could improve, I'm just going to give myself as much credit as possible for drawings that I enjoy, aspects of drawings that I enjoy. So even if I do a drawing that I'm not particularly proud of, I'm going to find at least one small aspect of it that I'm proud of. So try this right now. Just grab your sketchbook, grab an old drawing, look at any of the drawings that you made, and just look at it. Even if it's a drawing that's bad, try to find one thing that you're proud of. And the thing that you can be proud of is putting in the effort to make the drawing. Even if it's a bad drawing, the effort is legitimate, right? Even if you don't feel like it got you the results you wanted, you still put in the effort. So there's always credit to be earned there. There's always credit to give yourself. If you made a drawing, that deserves credit. And I'm going to lean into that. I'm going to lean into the aspect of, here are positive things that I'm doing. Here are things to be celebrated. The younger version of me would be proud to see this drawing. Even if it was just a small corner, even if it was just a single line, looking at that would make me feel good. So I'm going to celebrate. I'm really going to lean into the joy of drawing and focusing on the aspects of things that I'm doing well instead of focusing so much on the negativity. And I'm just going to trust that my creative intuition, my creative voice will make adjustments to fulfill the things that are needs to be fulfilled, right? Like if there are changes that needs to be made, I will just put that trust in my intuition to figure that out and not try to use my intellect and judgment to try to force the change. Let it just happen more naturally. The fifth change that I want to make is kind of related to what I was just saying. I want to use a lot less force to be creative. I want my creativity to flow out of a place of love and enjoyment and stop using so much force. I have a tendency to use discipline as a way to like make things happen, and I want to let go of some of that and just see how much of my creativity can flow naturally if I just do it from a place of forgiveness and love. If one of my friends was a creative, and I have plenty of creative friends who are forcing themselves to make a bunch of work and they're not really enjoying it, like they're struggling to enjoy it because they're using so much force, I would tell them to ease off and just relax a little bit, just approach the practice from a place of love and from a place of curiosity, and then just let that voice be more natural and be in its natural state rather than forcing it to be something, right? It does require a little bit of discipline to get to the table. Sometimes it does take a little bit of force to get there and to sit down and be there for 5 minutes. But if you're constantly forcing yourself, then eventually you will burn out. So I'm gonna just relax a little bit, let myself not draw every day, try to use less force to be creative. Like if ideas aren't flowing naturally, I'm not gonna try to force it. I'm not gonna try to be clever about the way that I approach my practice. I'm just gonna let that creativity flow naturally when it wants to, instead of using tons of force. Now, if you are someone who wants to learn how to draw and practice your drawing skills from a place of love and curiosity, check out the Absolutely Everything bundle that's linked below. I have a Joy of Drawing section that is included in almost all the courses that I go over all the different like strategies that I use to like enjoy my practice more. And also in the Inner Artist course, we go through a lot of reflective questions around expectations and perfectionism to grapple with these different types of aspects. So if this drawing challenge is something that appeals to you, if making adjustments to how you approach life through drawing is something that appeals to you, check out the Absolutely Everything bundle. There's also tons of worksheets around the basics of drawing, like learning how to draw forms, learning how to draw faces, learning how to draw figures. I just added a bunch of lessons on how to draw hair. So I've updated those lessons. If you have the portrait bundle, go check that out. And if you are interested in that, check out the Absolutely Everything bundle's link below, and also do the free worksheet. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.